Hello, my friends. Welcome back. How are you? I hope doing okay. It's hump day, and we are coasting through the week with some coasters. This is a collaboration with Mary from Resin Me Up and Marva from Marvelous Artsy. So make sure you go check their coasters out on their channels as well, and I will link their channels in my description box. So I chose to go ahead and make a whole coaster set. I'm going to be using this air dry clay here because I want to create kind of like a geode look in my coasters. But I want to do it in like a little simple way. So I wanted to share with you one of the simple ways that I make a cute little set of geode coasters. I'm going to be placing this air dry clay right in the center of my coasters, and that's going to divide the two colors that I'm going to be placing in here, and then leave a space after we pull the air dry clay out for our glitter that's going to run through the center of the two colors and give it that geode look. So you want to make sure that you zigzag your clay because geodes, they don't have a straight line down the middle. I mean, some may, but for the most part, they're pretty jagged. So we're going to try to replicate that look. Now for my coaster holder, I'm just going to poke the air dry clay down, and I don't know, I'm going to try to give it a little bit of a jagged look, but I'm not sure how it will come out looking. We'll just hope for the best. I'm just making sure I get it down there at the bottom so our colors don't merge into one another. Now I chose this iridescent iris here. I love this mica powder. It's a beautiful color. And I'm just going to scoop out a little bit into my cup and then pour a little bit of my resin. And I chose the Bond Crafter epoxy resin for this project. And I'm just going to get my mica powder stirred up really good in that resin. And now I'm going to go ahead and pour the rest of my resin over into the cup and then give it a bit of a stir. Making sure I get the sides of the cup and the bottom of the cup really well. Okay, now we're going to be adding some beautiful flowers to our coasters. So I thought I would pick out this a pretty pastel looking pink, and it has some really light pink flowers in it as well. They're so light that you can barely see them. They're beautiful. So I'm just going to dunk those flowers into the resin and let them soak up that resin into the petals before we place them down into our resin. Now I spritz my molds with a little bit of alcohol, and that's to help out with the bubbles. I'm using 91% alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. Now I'm just going to go ahead and pour that iridescent iris on one side of the coasters. I'm going to switch them around a little bit so I can get these other two over here. Spritz them with a little bit of alcohol and pour the mica powder in, the iridescent iris. Not mica powder, although mica powder is in it. Okay, we're not going to have enough for our coaster holder. So I'll mix up some more and we'll go ahead and fill that one in just a little bit. I sped this part of the video up a little bit right here. I spritzed some alcohol on the other side of the coaster now, and we're going to go in with some clear resin on each coaster. And now I'm pouring in these other two over here where I just spritzed the alcohol at. I'm going to move this one a little bit closer to me. And now I spritzed a little bit of alcohol in our coaster holder, and I'm just going to use some of that clear resin that we had the flowers soaking in and fill about halfway up into the mold there with the resin. Now we have clear epoxy resin in everything, the coaster holder and the coasters. So we'll go ahead and start laying these flowers. And I was just spritzing a little bit of alcohol to pop any of the surface bubbles. And I'm just picking a bubble out right there. I seen a bubble sitting right there on the edge of that air dry clay, which is not going to matter because we're going to be pulling that air dry clay out anyway. But you do want to pay attention to the bubbles on the edges. And since this is clear resin, you can see the bubbles really good. So I'm just walking around the coasters, making sure there are no bubbles. Now let's go ahead and lay the flowers. And we also have to be mindful of how much we're putting in these coasters because we still have to lay a dome over the back of these coasters and the coaster holder. Because when we place the flowers down, they like to float or stick up out of the resin just a little bit. So we need to leave room in the coasters to put another coat of resin over these after they cure. And you really have to pour these coasters very shallow to leave room to do something like that because it's really tricky putting a dome on a set of coasters like this that comes with a coaster holder. Because if your dome is too thick and you poured the coasters too thick, then every coaster is not going to fit inside of your holder when you get done, if that makes sense. I hope I'm explaining that well enough. So that's why I poured every pour very shallow. So we'll have enough room to get everything done that we need to the coasters and them still be able to fit inside of the holder. Now I'm just cutting some of those flowers, spritzing them with a little bit of alcohol to help with the bubbles, and placing them down into the coaster holder. Now I'm going to work on the coasters. I'll do a few with you and then I'll finish them up. And I'll leave the stem on some of them and then I cut some of the petals off to give it more of a realistic look. How's everyone doing today? I hope everyone's doing okay. Now I've placed all the flowers inside of the coasters. Now we need to put that, remember we didn't have enough of the iridescent iris to place on the other side of the coaster holder? Well, I mixed up some more and that's what we're going to go ahead and pour right here. I wasn't sure how much I would need. We can't fill it completely up. So we're probably going to have a little bit left over. I'm going to go to about right there. Then I'm going to get my heat gun, run it around the resin, and pop any of the surface bubbles. Spritz a little bit of alcohol to pop any surface bubbles. And now the resin we had left over, I'm going to spritz a little bit of alcohol into my leftover resin mold. And we'll go ahead and pour it in here. And this is almost filled up. And I'm just going to scrape the cup out and get all of it out of the cup. And if you're new to my channel, I use this mold for my leftover resin, and when it gets filled, I do a giveaway on my channel. Now I'm going to run my heat gun through there and pop any of the surface bubbles. Spritz a little bit of alcohol. And there it is. Okay, now I mixed up some clear resin, and we're going to go ahead and use my champagne pop glitter. It's one of my favorite glitters to use. The silver and the champagne and the pop is my favorite glitters. And I get those from my local Joann's fabric store. But I usually don't go in the store to buy them. I'll order them online because I buy a bunch at one time. Now I'm going to go ahead and stir that up in my resin. And I wasn't sure how much we would need of this either, so I just mixed up what I thought we may need. So we may have some left over too. And we'll just put it in the mold for my leftover resin. Now we're going to go ahead and pull out our air dry clay. And this is really too soon to be pulling it out. But I went ahead and just went forward with it because I had something I needed to do. And it would have been too late when I got back. So I had to go ahead and pull it out. You don't want to pull the air dry clay out after it has fully dried, but you don't want to pull it out really before it's too soon. And this right here was pushing it. But it's no big deal. I got it out. It didn't bother the coasters. It was fine. But this is just a little bit too soon to pull it out. It left one little piece in there, so I just got it out. And there it is. Now we're going to work on this one right here. And I'm just using a little tool to lift it up so I can get my finger on it to kind of pull it out of there or scrape it with the tool. But I'm making sure I do not scrape my coaster. If you put a scratch on your silicone coaster, it'll always be there. It won't give me my tool back. The resin's at a really sticky state right now. Okay, now I'm going to spritz a little bit of alcohol in there, and then I'm going to take this little tool here, and I'm going to go right on the top of the resin and scoot it. Well, I'm going to go ahead and scoop that out because I just didn't want to fool with that right there, and it's fine. It's not going to bother the coasters. Now I'm just taking my tool and going right on the top of that resin and moving it. Let me show you. See, I'm just moving it just a little bit to make room for our pour right here in between the two colors. And there it is. Now I'm going to use my little silicone tip brush here because that's going to be a whole lot safer to use since we're, working so close to the coaster. The mold. We're working so close to the mold. And now I'm just going to spritz a little bit of alcohol in there. The alcohol makes it easier to move the resin in there. And we don't want to move it into a straight line because that would defeat the whole purpose of placing the clay in the center for the geode look. So I'm just kind of pushing it you know, and not making it into a straight line. Just cleaning it up a little bit in the center. Okay, now I spritzed a little bit of alcohol into those coasters. And now I'm going to give that glitter a little bit of a stir and then go ahead and drop some right down in the center. We don't want to put a lot because we don't want our glitter to go over the top of our other two colors, especially not that clear. Okay, now I sped this part up a little bit. Now I'm going to spritz a little bit of alcohol in this one and then drop the glitter down in there. And then we have the 3 more pieces to get the clay out of. Now I'm just going to grab my little tool. That other one that I was using, it got too sticky to use. So I just reached over and grabbed another one. That one came out really easy. I had one little piece to get out. I'm going to spritz a little bit of alcohol, grab my silicone brush, and just clean up that center there a little bit. Get it ready for the gold glitter. And remember, we're not making this into a straight line. Now I'm going to grab that glitter and then I'll pour that glitter right in the center, making sure I do not go over the clear or the other color. Now let's get this clay out of this one. Spritz a little bit of alcohol, clean it up a little bit. I love making coasters this way. Coasters is probably one of my favorite things to make. I love making coasters. Does anybody else like making resin coasters? You can do so many things with coasters. Now we're going to just reach in there and scoop out that clay right out of our holder, our coaster holder. It looks like that marshmallow cream that you put on Rice Krispie treats. I could spoon that stuff out of the jar and eat it. Okay, it's coming out really nice. It's not sticking to the resin at all. Now I'm going to spritz a little bit of alcohol down in there. And I'm just going to clean it up a little bit in there. Everything's sticking to everything. There was a little piece of clay I was trying to get out. I think I got it. And I trimmed off that little flower there, the stem. And now we're spritzing a little alcohol in there, and we're going to go ahead and pour the glitter. I'm just going to drop a little bit down in there first and let it naturally make its way to the other side. So that way, maybe a bubble won't get trapped in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and just put the rest in there. But I'm going to stop right quick because I think I seen a bubble in there. And now I'm going to go ahead and finish pouring. But I'm not going to pour over the other colors. Okay, we're going to have some resin left over, it looks like. I'm just going to take a little bit of tape and clean out that center right quick. Now I'm going to use my heat gun and go over the resin and pop any surface bubbles. Now we're back and we're going to take that iridescent iris and place a little bit down into our cup here and get it stirred up really good. And I thought that would be how we would top off the coaster holder. And I'm just pouring some more resin in there and then get it stirred up. Scraping the sides of the cup and the bottom of the cup really well. Now I'm going to spritz a little bit of alcohol. And now let's go ahead and pour. And this is after the other resin had cured for about 4 hours. I'm going to use my heat gun, move that resin around a little bit, and pop any of the surface bubbles. It doesn't look completely filled. We may have to share a little bit of the clear resin over in here and fill it up completely. I'm just going around the edges, making sure there's no trapped bubbles. And now we'll go ahead and spritz some alcohol. And then let's go ahead and take the clear resin and drop it over our coasters and kind of basically just dome the back of our coasters inside of the mold. Now I'm going to run my heat gun over it, pop any surface bubbles, spritz a little bit of alcohol, and then we'll cover them, and I'll meet you back to demold our coasters. Okay, we are back, you guys. Let me show you what happened to our coaster holder. I placed it inside of my curing machine. I didn't cure it in there. I just placed it in there to cure. And I placed the lid over it like that. And look, I thought it covered the lid, but it didn't. When I opened it, it was stuck to the lid like that. So I had to peel it off of there, run my heat gun over it to heat the resin up a little bit, and it kind of messed up our coaster holder. But I'm going to fix that. When we demold it, I'm going to sand it, throw a dome over it, and it will look good as new. But I wanted to show you all what happened to it. Now let's go ahead and demold our coaster set and see what we got. I think these are going to be so beautiful. I started to put a little bit of color in our clear resin, but I'm glad I decided against that because I think the way that they look now is really beautiful. And here's our coaster holder, and I think it turned out so pretty. I love that iridescent iris. And that resin is very clear. Now let's check out our coasters. I'm going to take a little bit of tape and run it around the edge right quick so that that resin that's on the side of the coaster won't come off with the coaster when I demold it. It's just less cleanup if you do that. Okay, now I'm going to finish the rest of these and then I'll come back. Okay, I'm done. Let's go ahead and get our coasters out and take a look at them. Oh, that is so pretty. Look how that glitter just sparkles. It's just dancing around in there. It's so beautiful. I love, love, love these coasters. And I think they are very fitting for Valentine's Day. But I'm not going to be putting any vinyls or anything on them. So in case someone wanted to use them for anything other than Valentine's Day, they could. I think they are so beautiful. I love, 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 love them. We do need to sand them a little bit around the edges. And they look really good on the top. I do not think they need a top coat. Yes, they're perfect just like this. But I don't think we would have enough room for a top coat. See there? That top coaster is halfway in the holder right now. So you couldn't even put a dome on these coasters. But I don't think they need it. So I'm going to, I fixed the bottom of the coaster holder, and I'm just showing you that now. I sanded the edges and I put a dome on it. So it looks good as new now, and you can't even tell that it was messed up. It's still in a bit of a curing state, so I'm just going to place it on top of that paper there so I don't pick up any debris on it. So what do you guys think? I think these turned out so beautiful. Don't forget to go check out Mary from Resin Me Up and Marva from Marvelous Artsies Coasters as well. Well, it's about that time, my friends, for a sweet goodbye, and I will see you on Friday. God bless you. Goodbye, my friends.